down in this area, I wrote a couple of questions that I wanted to address today in our meeting. I was curious to know what kind of, or what level, if we're using CASAS levels, the questions on the Google form were. So were there a lot of level 1 questions, or were there some synthesis questions?
It was a range.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a range. Because I didn't want to totally and completely overwhelm them with high-level thinking the whole entire 60 minutes, because that's a long time to really keep putting that much into it, which is almost kind of why I like having the bigger classes with that sort of like reflection station where you do a little bit of research, because it gives them a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a break. So there were some that were just, I think one of the questions at one of them was, what was the most interesting thing that you learned about at this station? Which is pretty basic. But then there were other ones like if you pretty much stuff like, where do you see the connection happening between what you're learning about here and To Kill a Mockingbird, and what does that teach you, or what does that show you about this topic in the book? So basically that whole, how does this remind you of this, and then why is that important, and how can you prove and explain that it is important in some way? So it really was a pretty big range.
I saw you and heard you clarifying, giving positive reinforcement to the kids when they were at that station closest to the door. That video, and it must have been something about the narrator, Scout, and her age, or the way that she described things, and it's really nice to see the back and forth. And I didn't hear you give answers, which was great. You asked questions that allowed them to come up with their own answers. Right. So that was nice questioning technique from you. Where do you think this lesson fell as far as the SAMR scale?
I mean, on the one hand, the QR codes, it really changes it, but I wouldn't say it's at that top level, because I could print out that stuff and have it at the stations too, or have the videos. I could project the videos or something like that. So I wouldn't say it's at the very top, but it's up there, because it's definitely something that without having the iPads, without having the ability to have QR codes, we could not have done it in the way that we did it previously.
I would agree. I would say that lesson was probably at the modification range, and then when you get into your Socratic seminar with the back channel, I think that's into the redefinition phase. Good. I am going to jump over to the observation notes.
Okay.
And this document, the timestamp's an hour off for whatever reason.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. But the way that I went about doing this is very similar to years past, and we've worked together in years past, and that is I just keep a running tally of, and just recording of what you say, what the kids are doing. And there are some typos in there, so I got to go back in and fix some of those things. I did not tag the components because I just really feel as though it's important for us to look at the evidence, and then after our conversation, I'll go in and tag the components.
Okay.
And then the way that you can go about utilizing this particular document is to be able to go in and look down the column of 2A and see what the observation notes that were attached to 2A look like, and then use those observation notes, look at the rubric, and figure out, all right, with this evidence, I'm landing about in this 3 area for on this rubric. So I feel pretty good about that, or this is something that I could do differently to bump up into that distinguished category. So that's how you would utilize this this particular document. If there is something that is not, if there's a component that's not attached to any piece of evidence, that's not a big deal. That's my problem for making sure that I specifically look for that moving into the next observation. So don't worry about that. It's not your issue.
Okay.
General with teachers after an observation in a post-conference?
I really do like to encourage teachers to use the document where I collect evidence to be able to go back and take a look at the tags, at the component tags. With too much frequency, people do not utilize that feedback. This is an event, and after this event, they forget about it until we meet again at the end of the year, and then they might or might not, oftentimes might not, go back to take a look at the observation notes. And so one of the things that I'm really trying to focus on this year is encouraging the teachers with whom I'm working and the entire faculty to go back in and look at the rubrics, look at the evidence, schedule even 10 minutes a week to look at the Danielson components and the rubrics that go along with it. So that's been a goal of mine this year. And so in talking with Heidi, saying, okay, go back, take a look, do some of this evaluating on your own to try to figure out where you think you fall in the rubric so that we can have some rich conversations as we continue on. Heidi's she wants to do well, as most teachers really want to do well, and it's really difficult for them to figure out sometimes where they can improve. And so if they were to utilize some of these tools that are in front of them, that would be extremely helpful.